Now it's time to say hello once again to the King of Trends, the Duke of Direction, the Prince of Projection, and the Chancellor of Change, coming to us live from the heart of the most historically beautiful, hallowed, and timeless, that patriotic jewel of small-town America, historic Kingston, New York, where the ghosts of our founding fathers are said to watch over him and to keep him company. Here he is, Gerald Celente.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. How are you?
How am I?
Let me count the ways.
Yeah.
All right, time's up.
Yeah, very concerned what's going on. You have sociopaths and psychopaths leading us again to war. The same people. The same people who have led us to all of these other destructive wars are at it again.
They're not wars, my friend, and I know you agree with me. These are nothing less than international geopolitical corporate genocides of innocent people.
Yes. And sick people are doing it. Psychopaths and sociopaths.
And all
what is it going
between.
to take? I've been thinking in putting this in my mind. So as you well know, I mean, we talked when the new TrendsJournal came out a month ago, February 4th, I believe it was, and the cover was Ukraine, and we warned of a civil war, and we wrote that article a month before. It takes time, to put things together for a quarterly, and you could see this thing unfolding and where it was going, and I'm thinking to myself, why is it that how can it be that so few rule and ruin the lives of so many? And why is it that so many allow so few to rule and ruin their lives? And it keeps haunting me and haunting me and haunting me. Because anybody with an ounce of brain, an ounce of dignity, an ounce of self-respect, an ounce of integrity, and just a smidgen of courage could see the lunatics that are in charge.
Yep.
People could say, yeah, there's an Illuminati. I spoke to Dr. Paul Craig Robertson. You well know who he is, the former Assistant Treasury Secretary.
Run his material all the time.
Yeah, under Reagan. This guy, he's been there. He used to be able to bring up the head of the CIA and question him under oath. So 2 nights ago, we're talking for about 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, I said, Craig, it's Paul Craig Roberts, goes by Craig. I said, Craig, is there people behind the scenes? I said, I see these photos like Obama and his, team of national security advisors, and chief of staff, and this and that one. I said, are they really the ones, or is there someone behind the scenes pulling the string?
Oh.
And he said, no. He said, these are the dopes that are doing it. And he was there. He said, he remembers the day when there were honorable men and women in Congress, where you really would talk.
He goes way back.
Yeah, he goes way back. There was a group of very honorable people there that wouldn't take a penny from anybody.
They were
and wouldn't take anybody's baloney. And wouldn't bow to anything.
Yeah, they were professionals.
That was dishonorable.
They were career servants of the country, not servants of their bank account, servants of Wall Street, and all the other maniacs out there. You're right. Now, this is interesting that he would say that, because that does essentially, and I know both of you well enough through his writing and you personally as a friend, to know that Henry Kissinger, Zbigniew Brzezinski, George Soros, the Rothschild banking cartel in the city of London wield enormous power over the globe. Now, as far as micromanaging things in D.C., I see his point. When you look at the macro, you got to take in the big players.
Oh, of course. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to you have gutless little people with no integrity that bow down, suck up, and bend over.
They're punks, Gerald.
Exactly.
Obama's a punk. Barry Soetoro is a punk. He's a pot-smoking, crackhead, bisexual punk who thinks he's cuter than a bug.
As I keep saying, these are the same people you couldn't stand in high school and college that wanted to be class president and head of the student council. The suck-ups, the brown-nosers, the overly ambitious, and the insincere.
That's right.
They just followed their career path. But now it goes back to my question. Your question, you said, how am I doing? And my answer was, how could I be doing well when I'm concerned about what's going on? And as you well know, you go back to the spring 2011 TrendsJournal cover story, the first great war of the 21st century. You have the same imbeciles, but of a different ilk, that led us into World War I, that destroyed Europe at a time when it was going into such grandness.
It was.
That are doing it again.
They're directly responsible for the deaths of well over 100 million people in the last century.
And this time it's going to be, as Dr. Paul Craig Roberts is writing, it's going to be hundreds and hundreds of millions.
Could be.
This is going to be a nuclear war.
Could be.
You think they're going to roll out tanks on the planes? I mean,
it's not going to be another Battle of Kursk. No.
Nah. And as I keep saying, if Napoleon couldn't beat Russians, if Hitler couldn't beat the Russians, you think Obama is?
The only people that can beat the Russians are the Western Zionist bankster Wall Street.
Nobody's going to beat the Russians.
No, let me finish. The Western Zionist bankster Wall Street controlled media. They beat up the Russians every day.
They'll beat them up, but they won't beat them. I'll tell you.
No, they won't beat them. I meant beat them up.
No.
They punch them out.
You don't beat them up. They don't go. They don't die. I mean, they'll die. They'll go to the last person standing.
Exactly.
I'll tell you a quick story. I practiced close combat martial arts many years at my own school, and I trained under John Perkins, not the John Perkins who wrote the Hitman, not him, from attackproof.com, attackproof.com.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going back, early 90s, and we're down in Yonkers. And our classes used to be this. About 20 guys in there. A new guy would come in, 25 years of Kung Fu, whatever it was. And Perkins would introduce him to a guy like me, all of 5'8", and he'd say, "Hi, this is Gerald Celente." He'd say to the guy, "Do anything you want to do with him." And that was your class. You better learn, you learned enough. Now you got to do what you got to do. So anyway, one day this big Russian guy comes in, and Perkins doesn't put him with anybody. He works out because he knows this guy's a killer. And they're working out. All of 15 seconds of boom, bap. This guy's down on the ground, and Perkins has his hands around his throat.
Wow.
And he's Perkins. You have to look at, when you go to attackproof.com and you look at Perkins' face, and Perkins says, and you keep going until the spirit leaves the body, as he has this guy's hands around this guy.
Jeez.
And the Russian guy says, "What do you mean this thing's spirit?"
Oh, yeah, that says a lot. That says
There's
it all.
your story.
It says it all. No, you don't beat the Russians. You beat them up in the press. You pansy
It's a
patty
different
cake 'em.
mentality.
Totally. No, that's what. So, okay, you just put your finger on it again. That's what these wimps in the West don't get, and they never will get. They keep calling Putin a thug and a bully. No, wrong. He's a different kind of. These are different people.
They're different people. I'm saying, what do you mean this spirit? It's like,
that's a really remarkable story.
Yeah, it was something, that I never forgot, and that was it, and then they got up, and then, it was, then Perkins says, and if that doesn't work, boom, whips out a gun, you whip out your gun, but that's what we're up against here, and you also said it, when you look at these people, these are Harvard, Princeton, Yale. These are little boys that never got in a fight in their lives.
Limp-wristed pantywaists. That's all they are. All
the people have to do is focus on those words. No foreign entanglements. Very simple.
Here, let me read this. Hold the music, Todd, for me. It's short. This is George Washington. This is what he said. The great rule of conduct for us in regard to foreign nations is in extending our commercial relations to have with them as little political connection as possible. Europe has a set of primary interests, which to us have none or a very remote relation. Hence, she must be engaged in frequent controversies, the causes of which are essentially foreign to our concerns. Hence, therefore, it must be unwise in us to implicate ourselves by artificial ties in the ordinary vicissitudes of her politics, or the ordinary combinations and collisions of her friendships or enmities." End quote. Stay the hell out, is what he said.
Who are these people to do this to us? To rob us of everything that we have. They sold our jobs out to foreign nations. Now they're selling us out with war, one after another. And when the people just, hey, did you see that video of Justin Bieber at his deposition? You know?
You got it. You got it. That's it. It's all about celebrity. It's People magazine, and the sheep, I hate to insult sheep, are now zombie sheep. It's actually getting worse, Gerald. I mean, we used to talk about the sheep as, perhaps a group that could be awakened. Now, that's not to say that all of you listening aren't awake, and people. There are people who are waking up. But let's be honest. The massive iron boot and fist upon the hearts, minds, and souls of the masses of this country, which are controlled by the mainstream media and the entertainment media and spots, are lost at this time in history. Lost to us. No way to get through them. You talk to them, you hear the door shut. When you hear the door shut, get the hell out of there and go on to the next one. Find somebody that is at least willing to listen.
We need an alternative. I mean, if we just keep going down this road. And again, this is what's going on, Jeff. I'm out this since 1980. Yeah, and, as you get out, you keep doing it longer, you get better at it because you've seen a lot more of life.
You bet.
And when I look around what's going on in the world now, I mean, let's just take a quick trip. Turkey, rioting in the streets again. Mm-hmm. You know why? The people came out because back in June, the cops shot a canister, tear gas canister. They hit a 15-year-old kid in the head. Kid was in a coma, just died 2 days ago, and the people took to the streets.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands. Here they could kill you, they run over you, they could care less. You're old news.
Oh, the cops execute people every week here. No,
yeah, exactly. So anyway, they're rioting in Turkey. The lira is hitting again an all-time low. We're looking what's going on with Russia. Their stock market this year is down over 20%. The ruble is crashing. You go take a look what's going on in Yemen. Yesterday, 3 drone strikes at, quote, suspected militants. The day before, 4. 4 were killed. One drone strike yesterday killed 3. I said it improperly. Yet the day before, a drone strike killed 4.
At least
this
one
is against international law.
That's right.
It's against the Geneva Conventions.
They're war crimes.
It's against anything moral.
Exactly. At least one of those had to be a wedding party.
Yeah.
We're real good at that.
And then you go over to Bahrain. The Fifth Fleet is over there, and there's a civil war going on there between the Emir, I love these names, the Emir, the dictator, and it's mostly a Shia country. Then you go across, you go to Syria. It is a disgrace what is happening with our money and the other murderous countries pushing money into destabilizing the civil war that has killed so many innocent people and have ruined a beautiful country. Then you go over to Libya. Great job with that humanitarian mission, man. Yeah, it's in total chaos.
Sure it is.
And that's destabilizing the entire area. I have friends in Tunisia who border it. These are Muslims. These are radical Muslims. These aren't radical Muslims. They're mafia. They're murderers. They're terrorists. They're killers.
Yep.
And the press paints them as radical Islamists. No. Then you go over throughout Africa, Sudan, Central Africa, Congo, one country after another destabilized. Then you see the pitchfork movements going on in Italy, the destabilization in Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Spain, Portugal. People haven't left the streets in 3 months in Thailand. You talked about that madman Abe continuing to poke at China as their economy continues to go down, and the only people that benefited from it, like in the United States, from the stimulus money with the equity markets. And then you go down to Venezuela, of course, another revolution being instigated by the United States and others. Then you go to Argentina, Brazil, people taking to the streets continually. The world is at war between themselves and among each other.